used to listen to those African cats when I was with Arnett, and they were speaking all them languages. One of them told me one day, say, you know, all over Africa they got the secret drum societies that most white people don't know anything about because they're not going to tell them, they're not going to explain these rhythms and things to them. So I wanted to know what they were about.
Did you find that?
Yeah. And what happened was they invited me to sit on the panel of the Massachusetts Council of the Arts. And I went up there and I sat on the council. And we had to dole out about $3 million to these different musicians and stuff, right? And after we had finished these seminars and stuff, they had for the people who sat on the panel, they had this party. You know, we drank this champagne. And the woman who was head of the panel, who was sitting at the table, she said, well, what interests you? What have you wanted to do? I said, I've always wanted to go to Africa. You know, I've always wanted to go to Africa and learn and see for myself. She said, oh, we got grant money for that. I said, she says, when you get back to New York, send us a letter, and a request letter. And we did, and I got Philippa Renda, and she wrote out, and they sent, and we got this grant. A proposal. We wrote a proposal, and I got this grant. And then David Breskin kicked in from his foundation the rest of the money, so I was able to pay my rent for about 3 months here and provide the family with all the money they need for food and anything else, so it ever allowed me to go there in total freedom. You know, so when I was reading the books on what to do, they said, well, the scariest place you can go to is Kinshasa in Zaire, because you don't know if the plane's going to leave that day or that week or that month. Once you get there, you don't know when you're going to get back, because there ain't no planes and stuff running on nobody's schedule. Well, we arrived at night, but fortunately for me, in Abidjan, I had ran into this Japanese fella, because my Buddhism had taught me to be on ahead of time. You know, like German people would be 3 minutes to a minute, but always on time. But Japanese people would be 30 minutes before time. I always got to the airport an hour before. And so when the Japanese cat got there 30 minutes before time, he was shocked. I was there in line before him. We didn't speak anymore, but when we got about 8 hours later, when we got from Abidjan to that night, it arrived in Kinshasa about 10 at night. We got off the plane, and they immediately took me in a room because they were wondering what I was doing, what in the hell I was doing there. You know, I mean, I had no schedule, I had no place to stay. They had took me in this room, and they had already took my cameras, and took my tape recorder and my flutes.
Who's they?
The custom people. You couldn't tell because none of them had on no uniform. They were all cousins of Mbutu, who was running the country. And they had already took what they were going to take. This dude had the camera, that dude had the flute, and they might have took me out in the jungle and just killed my ass. All of a sudden the door, bam, blew open. And this Japanese bodyguard, and the Japanese dude walking there, and his bodyguard said, put his stuff back, give the man his stuff. And then he showed me the hotel to stay.
Nice.
I was just, you know, crazy enough just to get on a plane and go. I composed a song When Color Play just before I went to Africa because I didn't know if I was going to get back. I was just that crazy.
But did you write some of them?
I wrote most of those songs in Africa.
Can you talk about any of the experiences in Africa?
Most of them were written when I went to, actually when I was in Nigeria. And I thought Nigeria was the worst place I had ever been to in my life. I had never seen so much poverty until I got to India a few years later. And I said, oh, Africa ain't that bad after all. But I wrote a lot of those songs. I wrote 3 or 4 songs in the airport in Lagos. And then the rest of them I wrote when I was in Benin.
Benin? Okay.
When I was in Benin. I was in Dahomey.
Let me give you the titles real quick, see if it refresh your memory. Sweet Orange, Good Omens, March of the Pink Wallflowers. Blue
Sweet Orange is about Natalie.
Do you remember where you were when you wrote that?
I remember the time we played it and knew it was going to be what it is. We was in the Bamboo Club up in Toronto, Canada. I don't remember when I wrote it. You have to understand, a lot of times you write songs, write melodies, and you might not uh, use that melody 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years.
Right.
And then you might write something else, and this what you wrote a long time ago goes with that.
Right.
And it's like you're giving this amount of information in, and then 3 or 4 years later you're giving the other part of that information,
Right.
and you put the whole thing together. But sometimes you don't write out the whole melody, just write what you heard then. A lot of times I do write out the whole melody right then, right? But sometimes you write part of it and you work on it and put it away and forget it, and all of a sudden, boom, you write something else. Oh, I know this go with something else you wrote, because it fits. It's like a puzzle. The pieces fit perfectly. So I can't say exactly when I wrote that. I do remember writing When Colors Play, looking at the sunset go down just before I went to Africa.
Sunset where? Here in New York?
Yeah, down in the studio down on 8th Avenue between 38th and 39th Street. I was right there, and I was up on the 8th floor, and it was enough where I got sunlight every evening. So it was a very orange looking afternoon in the sun, and I said, oh, I just wrote When Colors Play.
What were you feeling as you did that?
The different colors, you know, when the hues in the sky and it's very orange, and it's separating, it's getting to that purple, it began to come in, and the sun is fading out. I was just feeling those colors, you know. And so that's I just wrote When Colors Play, because they seem to be playing with each other, you know.
Tell me about this title, Listening to a Mirror.
Well, it's actually listen to a reflection of yourself.
Which means?
I was listening to myself. I think Michael Jackson had a song I called Man in the Mirror. I don't know which came out first or which came out before each other, but it had nothing to do with that. I was listening to a mirror. I was listening to a reflection of myself. You know, it's like if you're looking in the mirror, you see yourself. But I was listening to myself, to a reflection of myself.
Is that the same thing as to trust yourself?
When you play drums, you're going to play in front of 15,000 people, you better trust your damn self. That's for sure, yeah. Yeah, that's on target, yeah. Trusting myself and listening to myself. And listening to what I'm hearing, you know. But also, again, I have to re-preface that. Sometimes I will change the title of a song because I'll think of something that is a title. And a lot of times I have a melody that I don't have a title to. You know, I have lots, and I always write song melodies down. I mean, song titles down, even though I might not be writing a melody. If I write a good phrase down, I'll mark that in my notebooks, song title, because that's what it'll be, a song title, you know.
Are you doing that even now?
Oh, yeah.
Any pop in your mind? You got any good ones floating around?
It's some in my notebook that I have to look. I'm tired right now.
Any funny ones?
Some of them are probably hysterical. You know, I saw some of them made me laugh. Yeah, but you know, when you talk about notebooks, I have piles and piles of notebooks. I have piles and piles of. I have one stack of notebooks about this long. It's the same Pisano notebooks that I used to write rhythms every day. Today is March the 27th. So this is actually a 3. A triplet, and it's the 3rd month. It's the 27th day, so this is a 9. You could either play it as a 2 and a 7. You can play a pattern just two beats, and then a pattern, a 7 pattern. And this is I don't write 05. I just write 5. I don't put the I dropped that because it's useless writing to me. So I just put 5. So you got a 5 pattern there. Well, most of the time, if it's the 27, I just put that together as 9.